The park was calm, the kind of calm that makes a person feel like nothing bad could ever happen. Birds sang from the trees, the sun shone warmly over the benches, and a gentle breeze rustled through the leaves. In the center of it all, a boy sat on a small folding stool, his guitar resting on his lap. He was a boy who loved music more than anything else, and this park had become his sanctuary. Every afternoon he would bring his guitar, strum its strings, and let the melodies fill the air. People passing by often stopped to listen for a few moments, smiling as they watched him play before continuing on with their day. He had a routine, and he liked it. He would set up his little spot near the fountain, place a cup on the ground for coins, and start playing his favorite songs. Sometimes he improvised, creating melodies that flowed from his fingers like water. Other times he practiced old classics, mastering every note until the song felt alive. Music was his escape, a way to express what words alone could not. It made him feel powerful in a world where he often felt small. That day, he was practicing a particularly tricky song. His fingers moved over the strings with a mix of precision and passion. A few children ran past him laughing, and he smiled without looking up. He liked that the park felt alive, filled with people enjoying themselves. But he also liked that the space he occupied had a sense of peace, a quiet corner where he could create and breathe. Suddenly, the distant roar of an engine broke the soft hum of the park. The boy paused, frowning as he tried to locate the source. It wasn't unusual to hear the occasional car or motorbike, but this sounded closer, louder, and more intentional. The vibrations from the engine made the ground tremble slightly under his stool. He glanced up and his stomach sank. A biker dressed in black leather with a helmet hiding most of his face was riding straight through the park. He wasn't the kind of biker you might see on a quiet neighborhood street, leisurely enjoying a ride. This one had an air of aggression, and the way he maneuvered the motorcycle suggested he wanted to make an impression. Behind him, a couple of others followed, smaller in number but equally intimidating. The boy's hands instinctively tightened on the neck of his guitar. The biker revved his engine again, a low, throaty sound that echoed across the park. People nearby started to notice, moving their strollers and dogs slightly to the side. A few joggers slowed, unsure if they should confront the disturbance or keep moving. The boy swallowed hard, trying to remain calm, but he could feel a knot of fear forming in his chest. The lead biker stopped his motorcycle a few feet away from the boy. He leaned back slightly, resting one boot on the ground, and studied the boy as if he were sizing him up. "What do we have here?" he asked, his voice rough and mocking. "A little kid with a guitar? You really think you belong out here making all this noise?" The boy's fingers instinctively twitched on the strings, but he didn't play. He didn't want to provoke the man further, yet he also didn't want to show fear. He took a deep breath. "I'm just playing music," he said softly, trying to sound confident despite the racing of his heart. "I'm not bothering anyone." The biker laughed, a deep, mocking sound that made the boy flinch. "Music, huh? Cute, real cute. You think strumming that thing makes you tough? You're just a kid. You don't know anything about the real world." Nearby park-goers began to watch, curiosity and concern mixing on their faces. Some whispered to each other, unsure if they should step in. The boy felt all eyes on him, but he refused to look away. He wanted to show that he wasn't entirely powerless, even if he knew he was at a disadvantage. The biker stepped closer, his presence imposing. He rested a hand casually on the handle of his motorcycle, but it was clear from his posture that he was ready to escalate if he wanted. "You think you can just sit here and play while the world passes by? You need to learn some respect," he said, his tone both threatening and condescending. The boy's stomach churned, but he straightened his back and held his gaze as best he could. "I don't want trouble," he said, his voice a little firmer this time. "I'm just playing. Please leave me alone." For a moment, the biker seemed to consider him, as if amused by the boy's courage or perhaps weighing whether he should push further. He smirked and walked closer, reaching out and grabbing the guitar from the boy's hands. The boy's eyes widened in shock. "Hey, give it back!" he shouted, trying to grab it, but the biker held it high above his head. His grip was firm, unyielding, and the boy realized he was powerless to retrieve it. The crowd of onlookers murmured nervously, some taking a step forward, but none intervened. The biker raised the guitar over his head, and with one swift motion, slammed it against the ground. The sound of the strings snapping, the wood cracking, echoed loudly. The boy's heart sank and he stumbled back slightly, staring at the shattered instrument in disbelief. The biker laughed again, a cruel, triumphant sound. That's what happens when you think you can sit here and pretend to matter, he said. Little kids like you don't belong out here. The boy's hands were trembling. He felt anger, fear, and helplessness all at once. Tears pricked his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He didn't want the biker to see him cry. Instead, he took a deep breath and tried to calm himself. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice quivering slightly. "I haven't done anything to you," the biker shrugged. "Because I can. Because the world isn't fair, kid. And today you're going to learn that lesson." He kicked the remains of the guitar lightly, scattering splintered pieces across the pavement. As the boy watched, his mind raced. He felt small, powerless, and alone. The world seemed cruel in that moment, and the park that had felt safe only minutes ago now felt threatening. Yet even in the fear, a spark of determination ignited inside him. He would not give up entirely. He had survived before, even if only through caution and wit. He had to find a way to get through this, to stand his ground, or at least survive until help arrived. At that moment, someone watching from the far end of the park noticed the commotion. John Cena, who had been jogging quietly nearby, paused mid-stride. He saw the biker taunting the boy, destroying the guitar, and realized the severity of the situation. His instincts kicked in immediately. Calm but ready, he scanned the area, assessing the biker's movements, the crowd, and the boy's reaction. He knew he needed to act carefully but decisively. The biker, oblivious to John Cena's presence, continued to taunt the boy. "You thought you could impress anyone with this?" he said, pointing at the broken guitar. "You're just another weak kid in a world that eats people like you alive." The boy felt a shiver run down his spine. He wanted to fight back verbally, to show the biker he wasn't afraid, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he swallowed hard, trying to keep his hands steady and focused on breathing. He noticed that some of the onlookers were whispering nervously, unsure whether to intervene. Their hesitation reminded him that he was alone for now, and that survival depended on patience and composure. From his vantage point, John Cena began to move closer. The boy took a shaky breath, his fingers still curled around the empty guitar case. The broken instrument lay scattered on the ground, the splintered wood and snapped strings a painful reminder of the earlier attack. He wanted to scream, to run, to grab the pieces and put them back together, but deep down he knew that wouldn't help. The biker was still here somewhere, and any sudden movement could provoke him again. Around him, parkgoers whispered and exchanged nervous glances. Some parents ushered their children to safer areas while others stayed, unsure whether to intervene. The boy felt a mix of anger, sadness, and helplessness. The guitar had been more than just an instrument. It had been his companion, his outlet, the way he expressed himself when words weren't enough. And now it was gone. The biker, meanwhile, had parked his motorcycle a few yards away, casually leaning against it and watching the boy with a smirk. He seemed to enjoy the power he held over someone so much smaller and seemingly defenseless. "So what are you going to do now?" he jeered. "Sit there and cry? Maybe next time you'll think twice before wasting everyone's time with your little songs." The boy's stomach twisted. He wanted to say something, anything, to make the biker leave, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he clenched his fists, his jaw tight, and stared back. He refused to let the man see that he was completely broken. Deep down, he knew he needed help, but he also realized that showing fear could make the situation worse. From the far end of the park, John Cena watched the scene unfold. He had been keeping a careful distance, making sure he could approach safely while also not startling the biker into aggression. He noticed the boy trembling, his shoulders tense the way he tried to hide his fear behind a determined stare. Cena's eyes narrowed. This was exactly the kind of situation he had trained for. Someone being threatened, powerless and needing protection. The biker, completely unaware of Cena's presence, began pacing slightly, revving his motorcycle's engine intermittently to assert dominance. Each roar of the engine echoed through the park, making children jump and birds scatter. He laughed cruelly, clearly enjoying the fear he was causing. "You know," he said to the boy, "life isn't fair. Some people are just meant to lose. And you, kid, you're a perfect example." The boy felt tears welling up, but he blinked rapidly and forcing Ed himself to focus. He didn't want to give the biker the satisfaction of seeing him break. He had faced intimidation before, not like this, but enough to know that standing still, keeping calm, and thinking strategically was his best option. He looked around for anything that could help, anything he could use to defend himself or signal for help. Nearby, a couple of people had pulled out their phones, discreetly filming or calling someone for assistance. The murmur of their voices and the clicking of buttons did little to deter the biker. In fact, he seemed to thrive on the attention, smirking as the crowd gathered, unsure of what to do. John Cena began moving closer. He kept low, using the trees and park benches for cover, carefully observing the biker's movements. He noticed that while the biker looked threatening, he had no real backup. Just a couple of small friends hanging back on their own bikes, clearly uncertain about what to do next. Cena's mind raced through strategies. His goal was simple: protect the boy, de-escalate the situation if possible, and ensure the biker could not cause further harm. The biker, sensing that he might have bored his audience with the initial display, began circling the boy slowly on foot, pretending to check out the area. He stomped near the guitar pieces, kicking one of the splintered strings to emphasize his earlier attack. "You think you're tough?" he taunted. "I could crush you if I wanted and no one would stop me. Look at them. They're just watching. Nobody cares about you." The boy took a deep breath and tried to muster his courage. He knew that hiding wouldn't work forever. He had to show some strength even if he was terrified. "I don't care what you think," he said, his voice quivering slightly but firm enough to be heard. "I'm not going to let you ruin everything. You can leave now." The biker laughed again, a low, cruel sound. "Leave? You're funny, kid. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But guts won't save you, not here, not now." He leaned slightly toward the boy, making the threat feel more real. At that moment, John Cena saw his opening. He stepped out from behind a tree, his presence sudden yet controlled. The biker froze, instinctively turning toward the imposing figure. Cena's height, muscular frame, and calm intensity immediately changed the dynamics of the situation. "You need to leave," Cena said firmly, his voice carrying through the park. "Now, leave the boy alone." The biker's smirk faltered. He had expected no intervention, just fear and submission. Seeing John Cena step forward disrupted his sense of control. Who are you supposed to be?" he stammered, trying to regain his composure. Cena didn't answer with threats or insults. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to command attention. "I'm someone who doesn't let bullies hurt kids," he said simply. "You're done here. Walk away." The biker glanced at his friends, hoping for backup, but the smaller bikers were now hesitant, uncertain about whether they should intervene or leave. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. The boy felt a mixture of awe and relief. He had been terrified moments before, but seeing Cena step forward gave him hope. Even though he was still shaken, he realized he wasn't entirely alone. Someone was here who could help him, someone capable of stopping the biker if necessary. The biker tried to act intimidating, revving his engine again and pacing in front of the boy. "You think showing up will scare me?" he shouted. "I've dealt with people bigger than you before. This changes nothing." Cena moved closer, keeping a calm but firm stance. "I said leave. Now," he repeated, his voice even but carrying a weight that brooked no argument. The biker hesitated, sensing the danger. He could feel that his usual tactics wouldn't work this time. The boy standing slightly behind looked smaller, but he no longer felt powerless. He had survived the initial attack, and now he saw that help had arrived. The biker's friends exchanged uncertain glances. They didn't want trouble with Cena, and they were beginning to realize that the situation was no longer under their control. The lead. The boy stood in the middle of the park staring at the broken guitar in front of him. The pieces of wood and snapped strings lay scattered across the pavement, a stark reminder of the earlier attack. For a few moments he didn't move, didn't speak. His hands trembled slightly as he clenched and unclenched them, trying to shake off the fear and shock that still lingered. He had survived the confrontation, but the emotions were overwhelming. The adrenaline that had kept him alert and tense was fading, leaving a hollow space filled with sadness, anger, and confusion. Around him, the park slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Children resumed their games, birds chirped from the trees, and a few joggers continued along the winding paths. But for the boy, nothing felt quite the same. The peaceful sanctuary of the park now carried a memory of fear and danger that was difficult to shake. The people nearby whispered quietly to each other, casting concerned glances toward him, unsure whether to approach or leave him alone to recover. He knelt down and gently touched a fragment of the guitar, the wood rough and splintered under his fingers. His heart ached. The guitar had been more than an instrument. It had been a part of him, a companion that had shared his emotions, his triumphs, and his frustrations. Now it was broken, and for a moment he felt like a part of himself was broken along with it. A soft, authoritative voice called out from a short distance away, and the boy's eyes lifted. John Cena had returned, walking calmly toward him. Cena had been observing the entire aftermath, ensuring that the biker had left and that the boy remained safe. Now he approached, his presence reassuring without being overbearing. "You're doing okay," Cena said gently, crouching slightly so that his height didn't feel intimidating. "I saw what happened. That was a scary situation, but you handled it better than you realize." The boy blinked, trying to hold back tears. I just wanted to play," he said quietly, his voice shaky. "I didn't do anything wrong." "Why did he do that?" Cena shook his head slightly. "Some people make bad choices. Some people think they can get power by hurting others. It's not your fault. You didn't deserve any of this." The boy nodded slowly, trying to absorb the words. There was a lot he didn't understand about the world, but Cena's calm and confident presence made him feel safer than he had since the attack. He realized that even though he had been powerless in the moment, he wasn't alone anymore. Someone strong, experienced, and willing to protect him had appeared just when he needed it most. "You were brave," Cena continued. "Standing your ground even when you were scared, that takes courage. Most people would have just run. You didn't, that matters." The boy swallowed, still feeling a lump in his throat. He had felt scared, yes, but he had also wanted to defend himself, even if he hadn't known how. Hearing Cena validate his courage made a strange, warm feeling rise inside him. A combination of pride and relief. I was scared," he admitted. "I didn't know if you would get here in time." Cena smiled, nodding. "And that's okay. Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about acting even when you are. You were scared and you still stood your ground. That's what makes you brave." The boy took a deep breath, feeling some of the tension in his chest ease. He looked at the broken guitar again, and a pang of sadness returned. "It's ruined," he said softly. I don't know if I can ever play it again." Cena followed his gaze. "It's broken now, yes. But that doesn't mean the music inside you is gone. You can fix it, get a new one, or even find a way to create something new. What matters is that your love for music didn't break. That's stronger than any guitar." The boy nodded slowly, feeling a sense of determination begin to replace some of the sorrow. He realized that Cena was right. The guitar was just an object. The passion, creativity, and courage he carried inside were what truly mattered, and those things could never be taken away by someone else, no matter how aggressive or mean they were. As he thought about this, the boy noticed the people who had gathered nearby, still watching him and the scene. Their expressions had shifted from concern to admiration. He realized that by standing his ground and enduring the biker's intimidation, he had earned a kind of respect from those around him. That small realization gave him a boost of confidence he hadn't felt before. Cena stood and offered the boy a hand. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get you somewhere safe. You need a break after all of this." The boy hesitated for a moment, then took Cena's hand. As they walked together toward a quieter area of the park, he felt a mixture of relief and curiosity. He wanted to know more about Cena, about how someone could be so calm and strong in the face of danger. He also wanted to understand why Cena had stepped in to help him, a stranger without hesitation. "You didn't have to help me," the boy said after a few steps. "Why did you?" Cena smiled thoughtfully. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "Sometimes we see someone in trouble and we can either look away or we can act. I chose to act. That's all there is to it, and you stood up too, in your own way. That matters." The boy considered this, realizing that bravery could take many forms. It wasn't just about physical strength or fighting back. Sometimes it was about staying calm, refusing to give in to fear, and doing what you could to survive. He had learned that today, and Cena's words made the lesson feel even more real. As they reached a quieter corner of the park, away from the crowd and the lingering tension, Cena sat down on a bench and gestured for the boy to sit beside him. The boy hesitated, then sat, still holding the empty guitar case on his lap. "You know," Cena said, leaning forward slightly, "sometimes the people who try to hurt others are acting out of fear themselves. They think being aggressive makes them strong. But true strength isn't about hurting people. It's about protecting them, helping them, and standing up for what's right. The boy listened carefully, absorbing every word. He thought about the biker, how aggressive and loud he had been, and realized that maybe he had been acting out of insecurity or fear. It didn't excuse what he had done, but it helped the boy make sense of the situation in a way that didn't make him feel powerless. "I guess he was just trying to feel big," the boy said quietly. "He's probably scared too in his own way." Cena nodded. "Exactly. And that's why you need to stay strong in your own way. You can't control others, but you can control how you react. And today you did that. That's something to be proud of." The boy's chest swelled slightly with pride. For the first time since the attack, he felt a spark of hope. Maybe he could recover from this. Maybe he could even turn it into something positive. He glanced down at the broken guitar pieces again, thinking about what he could do next. "I want to play again," he said firmly. "I want to fix this guitar or get a new one and keep playing." "I don't want him to win." Cena smiled widely. "That's the spirit. Don't let anyone take your passion away. They can't, not really. The music, your courage, your determination, those are yours forever." The boy walked beside John Cena through the park, his steps slow at first, weighed down by the earlier fear. But with every passing moment, a sense of calm began to replace the tension in his chest. He looked around at the familiar trees, the winding paths, the fountain where he had spent countless afternoons playing his guitar. Everything seemed the same, yet he felt different. Something inside him had shifted. "Are you okay?" Cena asked, glancing at the boy with genuine concern. "I think so," the boy replied, his voice quiet but steady. It's hard to explain. I'm not as scared anymore, but I keep thinking about what happened." "That's normal," Cena said. "What you went through was intense. Even if it's over, your mind needs time to process it. The important thing is that you made it through and you're still standing. That counts for a lot," the boy nodded. He realized that Cena was right. He had survived something frightening, and he had done it without panicking or giving up. That felt like a small victory, but it mattered immensely. As they walked, Cena noticed a small crowd of people who had stayed behind in the park, quietly observing the aftermath. Some of them waved at the boy. Others offered encouraging smiles. One elderly man, holding a walking cane, approached cautiously. "You did well, son," the man said softly. "Most kids would have just run. You stood your ground, and that takes courage." The boy smiled faintly, feeling warmth spread through his chest. "Thank you," he said. "I was scared, but I wanted to keep going. I wanted to show him that he couldn't just take my music away." Cena nodded. "And that's exactly what you did. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right even when you are." The boy's eyes fell on the broken guitar case in his hands. He opened it and looked at the shattered instrument inside. A pang of sadness hit him again, but it was different now. He didn't feel helpless. He felt determined. He could repair it or get a new one. He could continue playing music. The fear hadn't taken that away from him. "Do you want to try and fix it?" Cena asked gently. "Or maybe we can find a new guitar together. Either way, you don't have to stop playing." The boy's face brightened. "Really? You'd help me with that?" "Of course," Cena said. "No one should have to face something like this alone, and you shouldn't let this stop you. Music is important, and so are you." They continued walking toward a small music store nearby. The boy felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had never thought of going to a music store with someone like John Cena, someone so famous and strong. But right now it didn't feel intimidating. It felt supportive. As they entered the store, the smell of polished wood and strings filled the boy's senses. Rows of guitars, both new and used, lined the walls. The boy's eyes widened. "Wow, so many guitars," he whispered. Cena smiled. "You have a lot of options here. Let's see what we can do." The store clerk, a middle-aged man with a friendly smile, greeted them. "Can I help you with something?" "Yes," Cena said. "This young man's guitar was broken. We're hoping to either repair it or find a replacement. He's a musician, and he doesn't deserve to stop playing." The boy felt a warm glow inside. The clerk nodded understandingly and led them to a repair section in the back. They examined the broken guitar carefully. Some pieces could be salvaged, others were beyond repair. The clerk explained the options clearly. They could try to fix it, or the boy could choose a new one within his budget. The boy thought about it. He had grown attached to that guitar, but he also realized that a new guitar could be a fresh start. a way to move past the fear he had experienced. He nodded firmly. "I want a new one," he said. Cena smiled. "Good choice. You're ready to move forward." They spent the next hour selecting a guitar that felt just right for the boy. He tested the strings, strumming cautiously at first, then with more confidence. The sound was different from his old guitar, but it was strong, clear, and full of potential. He felt a surge of excitement. This was more than just a new instrument. It was a symbol of resilience, of courage, of moving forward despite fear. After paying for the guitar, Cena and the boy stepped back into the park. The sun had begun to lower in the sky, casting long shadows and bathing the surroundings in warm, golden light. The boy placed the new guitar in his arms and took a deep breath. "Are you ready?" Cena asked. "I think so," the boy replied, a small smile on his face. "I want to play again." He sat down on the same stool he had used before and positioned the guitar carefully. His fingers hovered over the strings, then began to strum gently. The music flowed, steady and clear. People nearby paused to listen. Some smiled, others nodded in appreciation. For the first time since the attack, the boy felt fully in control again. Cena stood a few feet away, watching with a proud expression. He knew that this moment was about more than just music. It was about reclaiming power, about showing the world, and himself, that fear could be overcome. As the boy played, he noticed something remarkable. Children who had been frightened earlier returned, drawn by the sound of music. Parents watched from benches, and even some of the park's regular visitors lingered nearby, appreciating the boy's resilience and talent. The park, once a place of fear and tension, had returned to a place of joy and community. The boy played song after song, his confidence growing with each note. He experimented with new rhythms, adding his own flair to familiar melodies. He felt alive, strong, and unstoppable. The events of earlier in the day had not defeated him. They had shaped him into someone braver and more determined. After a while, Cena approached and sat beside him on the bench. "You're doing great," he said quietly. "Music is powerful. It can heal, inspire, and connect people, and you're doing all of that right now." The boy looked up, his eyes shining. "I feel different," he admitted. "I was so scared earlier, but now, I feel like I can handle anything." Cena nodded. "That's because you can. Courage isn't just about facing danger. It's about standing up after it, learning from it, and moving forward. You've done all of that today." The boy paused, thinking about the biker. The boy stood in the middle of the park, holding his new guitar close to his chest. The sun had almost completely set, leaving a warm golden hue across the trees and paths. The park felt alive, filled with the sounds of children playing, dogs barking, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. Yet for the boy, this park felt different than it had that morning. It wasn't just a place to play music anymore. It was a place where he had learned something important about courage, resilience, and support. John Cena remained nearby, leaning against a tree, watching quietly. The boy glanced at him and smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and gratitude. He had been terrified that morning, overwhelmed by fear when the biker had destroyed his guitar. Now standing with a brand new instrument in his hands and the confidence he had regained, he felt a sense of triumph he had never experienced before. Cena approached him slowly, his expression calm and encouraging. "You did really well today," he said. "Not everyone can handle what you faced this morning and come out the other side standing tall. You've shown courage, patience, and strength. That's something to be proud of." The boy nodded, still feeling a little shy but also excited. "Thank you," he said softly. "I didn't know what to do at first, but I tried. And then you came and it felt like I could breathe again." Cena smiled. "Exactly. It's okay to need help sometimes. Courage doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing when to act and when to accept support. And you did both today." The boy felt warmth spread through him at Cena's words. It wasn't just about surviving the attack. It was about understanding that bravery could take many forms. It could be standing up, asking for help, or even simply not giving up when the world seemed against you. Today he had discovered that bravery wasn't the absence of fear. It was action in spite of it. Nearby, some of the park-goers who had witnessed the morning incident gathered around. A few smiled warmly at the boy. Others gave small nods of approval. Even people who had initially hesitated to intervene seemed to radiate support now. The boy realized that by standing his ground and showing resilience, he had inspired others. That feeling was powerful. almost as powerful as the music flowing from his guitar. He gently set the guitar down and picked up a piece of chalk from his backpack. He began to sketch notes and simple music symbols on the nearby pavement, planning out the songs he wanted to practice. His hands moved with renewed energy, and for the first time in hours he felt fully focused on what he loved most: creating music. Cena watched him for a few moments, appreciating the transformation. "You know," he said, "sometimes the things that scare us the most end up teaching us the most important lessons. Today was one of those days for you. You learned how strong you really are and how far courage can take you." The boy looked up at Cena, a serious expression on his face. "I don't want to be scared like that again," he admitted. "I want to be ready if something like this happens. I want to protect myself and others if I can." Cena nodded thoughtfully. "That's a good mindset. Being prepared doesn't mean you won't be scared, but it does mean you'll handle it better, and you'll inspire others to do the same." As they spoke, a group of children approached, curious about the guitar and the music the boy was playing. They asked if he could teach them a few chords and simple songs. The boy hesitated at first, unsure of his own confidence after the morning's events, but then he smiled. "Sure," he said. "I'd like that." For the next hour, he shared music with the children, showing them basic chords and strumming patterns. Their laughter and excitement filled the park, creating an atmosphere of joy and learning. The boy realized that by helping others, he could channel the fear and sadness from earlier into something positive. Music had the power to heal, connect, and inspire, not just for him, but for everyone around him. Cena watched quietly from the side, pleased to see the boy thriving. The presence of the crowd, the laughter of children, and the sense of community created a stark contrast to the fear and isolation he had felt earlier. The transformation was remarkable. As the evening deepened, the boy packed up his guitar, now feeling fully confident in his abilities and his place in the park. He glanced around, noticing the small acts of kindness and support that had surrounded him throughout the day. Strangers who had remained, parents encouraging their children, even the quiet acknowledgement from the elderly man who had praised his courage. It all added up to something significant. He understood that courage was not only about facing danger, it was about accepting support and spreading positivity. Cena approached him once more. "Are you ready to head home?" he asked. The boy nodded. "Yes, but thank you. I don't think I could have handled all of this without you." Cena smiled warmly. "You did handle it. I just made sure you didn't have to face it alone. Remember that. You were strong before I came. You're strong now, and you'll be strong tomorrow too." The boy felt a swell of pride and gratitude. He realized that today had been a turning point. He had faced fear, survived an attack, reclaimed his passion, and learned lessons about courage, resilience, and the power of support that would stay with him for the rest of his life. As they walked toward the park exit, the boy carried his guitar carefully. Each step felt lighter than before, as if the weight of fear and helplessness had finally lifted. He glanced back one last time at the park, the fountain, and the people who had supported him. A sense of closure settled over him. He knew that challenges would come again, that not everyone in the world would be kind, fair, or safe. But he also knew that he had the strength to face them, the wisdom to seek help when needed, and the courage to stand firm in the face of fear. Those lessons were invaluable, and the memory of today would serve as a reminder of his resilience and potential. Cena and the boy reached the park entrance. Cena knelt slightly to be at eye level with him. "Keep playing," he said firmly. "Keep practicing, keep teaching, and keep being brave. Today was a victory, but it's also just the beginning. Your courage and your music can take you far. Don't let anyone or anything take that away." The boy nodded, gripping his guitar tightly. "I won't," he promised. "I'll remember today and everything you said. I'll keep going no matter what." Cena smiled one last time, giving him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Keep moving forward, and never forget your strength." As Cena walked away, the boy watched him leave, feeling a mixture of admiration and inspiration. He turned back toward the park, taking in the vibrant scene, children playing, families enjoying the evening, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. He knew that life would have its challenges, but he also knew that he had the courage and support to face them. Sitting back down on his stool near the fountain, the boy picked up his guitar. He strummed a chord, then another and another, The music flowed naturally, strong and confident. The sound carried across the park, drawing the attention of passers-by. Some paused to listen, others smiled, and a few children gathered around once more, eager to hear the music and learn from him. The boy played until the last light of the sun faded, the sky now painted with soft shades of purple and pink. The park had transformed from a place of fear into a place of joy, learning and inspiration, and at the center of it all, the boy felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had faced fear, received support, reclaimed his passion, and shared it with others. He had grown stronger, braver, and more confident in himself. As he finally packed up his guitar and walked toward home, he felt a sense of peace he had never known before. The events of the day had been frightening and challenging, but they had also taught him lessons that no book or teacher could provide. Courage, resilience, the value of support, and the power of music. These were the treasures he carried with him now, and they would guide him for the rest of his life. The boy took one last look at the park, smiling. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he also knew that he had the strength, courage, and determination to face them. And as he walked home, guitar in hand, he felt ready for anything the world might throw at him. Fear and the adrenaline. He realized that while he hadn't been able to stop the attack physically, he had survived it, learned from it, and come out stronger. He understood that bravery wasn't about never being scared. It was about acting despite fear and seeking help when needed. Nearby, people clapped softly as the boy finished a song. He smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and relief. He had reclaimed the park, his music, and a sense of safety. The support he had received from Cena, the onlookers, and even the small crowd that had stayed behind had made a difference. He felt connected to them, as if their admiration and encouragement were fuel for his courage. Cena stood and placed a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "Remember this feeling," he said. "The next time you face fear or uncertainty, remember how you handled today. You're stronger than you think." The boy nodded, feeling the weight of Cena's words sink in. He realized that bravery and resilience were lessons that would stay with him forever, far beyond the park or the broken guitar. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the boy continued to play. People walked by, stopping briefly to listen, and the park seemed alive with a sense of hope and community. The fear of earlier in the day had faded, replaced by confidence, determination, and joy. The boy knew that challenges would come again, that not everyone in the world would be kind or fair. But he also knew that he had the courage to face them, the ability to seek help when needed, and the strength to rise after fear. That knowledge filled him with a sense of empowerment that was stronger than any guitar, louder than any threat, and more enduring than any fear. Cena stayed for a while, watching the boy play, making sure he felt safe and supported. Eventually, he stood and gave the boy a nod of encouragement. "Keep playing, keep growing, and don't let anyone take that away from you," he said. "You've got this." The boy smiled, gripping the new guitar tightly. He strummed a final chord that echoed across the park, vibrant and full of life. In that moment, he felt unstoppable. He had faced fear, found support, reclaimed his passion, and learned the power of resilience. The park returned to its calm evening rhythm, but the boy's heart was full of music, courage, and hope. He had survived the storm, and he knew that no matter what came next, he could face it with strength, determination, and the knowledge that he was never truly alone. The boy nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that the day had tested him in ways he hadn't expected. He had faced fear, witnessed aggression, and felt the weight of powerlessness. But he had also experienced bravery, protection, and the support of someone who had stepped in when it mattered most. As they stood and began walking back toward the center of the park, Cena pointed toward a nearby music store. "If you want, we can take a look there. Maybe find a new guitar, or at least see how to repair that one." The boy's eyes lit up. "Really? You'd help me with that?" Cena nodded. "Of course. It's not just about protecting you in the moment. It's about helping you move forward, too. You've got a lot of